What if one man could change the fate of Rome forever? This is the story of Julius Caesar, the legendary leader whose ambition shook an empire. His tale is one of brilliant strategy, ruthless politics, and ultimate betrayal. Stay with us as we uncover the life of the man who became a legend. The Roman Republic, in the 1st century BC, was a powerhouse of the ancient world. Its legions had conquered vast territories, and its influence stretched across the Mediterranean. But internally, Rome was a cauldron of instability. The Republic was plagued by political corruption, social unrest, and a constant, vicious struggle for power among its elite. Ambitious senators and powerful generals vied for control, often leading to civil wars that tore the fabric of society apart. It was a time of both great opportunity and immense danger. In the midst of this chaos, a young, ambitious nobleman was beginning his ascent. He was charismatic, intelligent, and possessed a burning desire for glory. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar, and his story would become intertwined with the very destiny of Rome. Born in the year 100 BC, Julius Caesar entered the world as a member of the Iuli, an old and respected patrician family. Though their lineage was noble, their political and financial influence had waned over the years. This context fueled Caesar's ambition from a very young age. He was determined to restore his family's prominence and carve out his own legacy. He received a first-class education, mastering rhetoric and oratory, skills that would later allow him to captivate both the Roman Senate and the common people. He also delved deep into military strategy and the art of war, understanding that in a republic built by soldiers, military glory was the surest path to political power. His early life was not without peril. As a young man, he was targeted by the dictator Sulla, forcing him to flee Rome and go into hiding. This brush with death only hardened his resolve. He returned to Rome after Sulla's death, more determined than ever to make his mark on history. Caesar's rise through the ranks of Roman politics was nothing short of meteoric. He was a master of political maneuvering, forming strategic alliances to advance his career. The most significant of these was the First Triumvirate, an informal pact with two of Rome's most powerful men, Pompey the Great, a celebrated general, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome. This alliance allowed Caesar to secure the prestigious position of consul, the highest office in the Republic. But Caesar knew that true, lasting power came from military conquest. He secured for himself the governorship of Gaul, a vast and untamed territory that corresponds to modern-day France. For nearly a decade, he waged a brilliant and brutal campaign, the Gallic Wars. He subjugated hundreds of tribes, crossed the Rhine River into Germania, and even launched two expeditions to Britain. His detailed accounts of these campaigns, known as the commentaries on the Gallic War, were masterful works of propaganda sent back to Rome to enhance his reputation. His victories brought immense wealth and territory to Rome, and he became a hero to the Roman people. But his growing fame and the unwavering loyalty of his legions made many in the Senate deeply nervous. They saw him not as a hero, but as a threat to the Republic itself. By 49 BC, the political situation in Rome had reached a boiling point. Crassus had been killed in battle, and the triumvirate had dissolved. Pompey, once Caesar's ally, had aligned himself with the conservative faction of the Senate, who were determined to strip Caesar of his power. The Senate issued an ultimatum. Caesar must disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen to face prosecution for his actions as consul. For Caesar, this was an impossible choice. To obey meant political ruin and likely execution. To refuse meant civil war. He led his 13th legion to the banks of a small river in northern Italy, the Rubicon, which marked the legal boundary of his province. To cross it with his army would be an act of insurrection, a declaration of war against his own state. After a moment of hesitation, he made his decision. He famously declared, "Alia iacta est," the die is cast. He led his soldiers across the river, an irreversible act that plunged the Roman world into a devastating civil war and set a course that would change history forever. The civil war was swift and decisive. Caesar's legions, battle-hardened and fiercely loyal, outmaneuvered Pompey's forces. He pursued his rival across Italy, to Greece, and finally to Egypt, where Pompey was assassinated. Caesar, now the undisputed master of the Roman world, returned to Rome not as a general, but as its sole ruler. He was granted the title of dictator, initially for a term of 10 years, but this was later extended to dictator for life. With absolute power in his hands, Caesar embarked on a sweeping program of reforms. He reformed the convoluted Roman calendar, creating the Julian calendar that, with minor adjustments, is still used today. He granted Roman citizenship to people in the provinces, extended the Senate to include his supporters from across Italy, and initiated massive public works projects to provide employment for the poorer. He also passed laws to curb the excesses of the wealthy elite and relieve debt. His reforms were popular with the common people, but his consolidation of power and monarchical style deeply offended the traditionalist senators. Whispers grew that he intended to declare himself king, a title the Romans had despised since the founding of the Republic. The fear and resentment among a faction of the Senate festered into a deadly conspiracy, led by prominent senators like Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus, a man Caesar had once pardoned and treated like a son. A plot was hatched to assassinate the dictator. They believed that by killing Caesar, they could restore the Roman Republic to its former glory. The conspirators chose the Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BC, as the day for their deadly act. As Caesar entered a meeting of the Senate held at the theater of Pompey, he was surrounded by the plotters. They drew daggers hidden in their togas and fell upon him. According to historical accounts, he was stabbed 23 times. His final moments and his alleged final words to Brutus, "Et tu, Brute," and "you, Brutus," have become legendary, symbolizing the ultimate act of betrayal. Caesar's dream of absolute power ended in a pool of blood on the Senate floor. But the conspirators' dream of restoring the Republic died with him. His death did not bring peace. Instead, it triggered another round of brutal civil wars that would ultimately lead to the very thing they feared, the end of the Republic and the rise of an emperor. Though his life was cut short, Julius Caesar's legacy is immeasurable. He was a military genius who expanded Rome's borders to the English Channel and the Rhine River, conquests that would shape the map of Europe for centuries. He was a visionary politician whose reforms addressed deep-seated social and economic problems, laying the groundwork for the future Roman Empire. He was also a gifted writer whose prose is still studied for its clarity and elegance. His actions directly led to the downfall of the Roman Republic and the birth of the Roman Empire under his adopted heir, Octavian, who would become the Emperor Augustus. Caesar's name became a title, Kaiser and Tsar, synonymous with imperial power for millennia. He transformed Rome and, in doing so, transformed the course of Western civilization. From an ambitious young politician to a living god, Julius Caesar's story is a timeless epic of ambition, power, and destiny. History, indeed, remembers the bold. If you love legendary history stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It really helps us bring more of these epic tales to you. And let us know in the comments, which historical leaders should we cover next? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter of history.